know what this existential structure is going to be about yet. I'll decide when I get to the end. But I guess I wanted to talk about, I don't know what to put it as, but sort of, I guess within I have a sort of, I guess a death wish. I don't know how to explain it, but it's something I've struggled with, just sort of apathy towards my own life, this sort of sense of this as if I could be negated at any time and doesn't matter what happens to me. Sometimes a part of me almost wants to die and get it over with. Just to die and just see what happens, just to have some sort of finality, have some sort of certainty, have some sort of, I guess, end, finish. It's not even a matter of rest. Like sometimes it can even enter into a sort of wanting to enter into oblivion, wanting to just simply not exist. It's a very weird thing. And you can attribute it maybe to a lack of love or a lack of self worth or a lack of satisfaction or a lack of it might not even be a lack, it might be an excess too, an excess of too much desire or expectation, an excess of too much. I don't know. It's not even negativity because I used to feel negative. I used to be very pessimistic, very negative, and be incredibly miserable. And I wanted to explore the depths of this misery. I wanted to see how deep it could go. I discovered you could become incredibly miserable. It could go very deep, like a black hole. No light escapes from it. Like it's all completely dark. It's all completely heavy. And it just wants to, you just feel beaten to the ground and you want to be pulverized and turned to dust. So it's very interesting. But in spite of this, I also experienced this weird sense of wonder. I don't know how to explain it. The sense of like, it's so amazing I can be alive. It's so amazing that all this stuff can happen. And I enjoy all that I receive into my consciousness in the sense of like, I can have it as an experience. And I enjoy all that activates as me, which is a contrast to when I was becoming sick, when I was becoming very depressed. I remember I came to hate being human. I used to like almost want to run away from it. I felt like I was like crashing along inside my skull, bouncing back and forth inside my skull, trying to escape this sense of I am who I am, and I don't want to be who I am. And since I can't be not who I am, I don't want to be at all. So it was very interesting. I just didn't want to be human because I was tired of, I was just much tired. I guess I felt there was no redemption, there was no reformation, there was no regeneration, there was no fulfillment of promise, there was no reintegration back into the whole, there was no good position next to other people in good relation, there was no righteousness basically. I lost my righteousness, I lost my innocence. And a part of me I've always felt that as I look back on my life and think things through, where I was never innocent. I never had a good sense of innocence. I was always exposed to things way too young. Before I was 7, I was exposed to sexuality, and it took me down certain paths. Before I was 9, I was exposed to brutality from anger and the ability to be very cruel. And even now, I still regret every way I've hurt people. I regret every way I've confused people, misled people, or failed to live up to the promise that I gave them as far as what they could expect of the kind of person I'd be towards them, what they could expect of the kind of person I could be in the world. I just want reparation, I guess. And when I saw that there were too many wounds in this life that we inflict on ourselves and inflict on each other, I despised life. There was a sense of if if the choir, if everyone's making a mistake in the choir, everyone's missing notes up and singing wrong, and the whole entire thing sounds horrible, I'd rather not listen at all. So that's where the whole craving for not to exist came from. It was just like it was too imperfect for me to want to live in it. But then sometimes there was a part of me that was sort of like, but every now and then some notes sound very beautiful. People are singing in the choir of how life plays out. Every now and then it's very interesting to hear a note decay or hear a note be attacked and expressed. So the details became interesting to me. And then just like physical details used to be interesting to me, but in this case, the details of, I don't know what to call it, I guess, spirit, organization, arrangement, that's what does it, but whatever. But there's the details of how things play out, the details of how things hold together, how things come apart, how things fade away, how things change states. Because I characterize it as animation and form are the two main givens that comprise the world. Animation in the sense of change, motion, movement, expression, vibration, rotation, energy, and form the sense of structure, arrangement, procedure, sequence, uh, connection. All these features interweave into how the world played out. And even if there's a lot of waste with these features and the ways they stylize a sort of waste and ambience, amnesia, rapid decay, bad starts, whether a start that sticks out too much or a start does not stick out enough, such as if somebody's making a sound, right? If you're singing the song, your part's supposed to come in and you start off too quiet or you start off too loud, it disrupts the structure, it disrupts the progression. But it can always be repaired. You can always be made loud if you're too quiet or made quiet if you're too loud. If there's adjustment. So there's this sense of continual adjustment, this sense of continual regeneration that refines things. And there's this feature I find interesting in Christianity because this is what Yahweh promises. This is what Yahweh does in the person of Jesus. He adjusts everything back into the proper music. He tunes it all into proper music, to the right suitable sound, the right suitable arrangement, the right suitable attack, the right suitable decay, the right suitable development. And it gives us the opportunity to participate in this and works in us to transform us and develop us in this way. That makes things okay. And I guess this is how I reconcile my life to my life. Because there's a sense of, for every given thing, whether it's my hand, there's a sense I can make my hand touch my hand. But there's also a sense if my hand is forced to touch itself in a way that's not beneficial to its constitution, beneficial to how it expresses itself, whether it's closing, grasping, those are bending it backwards, bending finger backwards, it breaks, it's disrupted, it's ruined. So sometimes people see the ways in which they are disrupted, the ways in which they are ruined, and they see that as a negation of the fact that they can be healed and that they can end up working the way they should work again or being able to work even better. They're like, if I can be messed up, if I can be brutalized, if I can be hurt, if I can be abused, if I can be molested, if I can be assaulted, if I can be deceived, if I can be disappointed, if I can be rejected, alienated, despised, if all these things can befall me and they can mess up my form, mess up the way I progress and my change, if they mess up my development and they lead to decay, or they lead to further corruption, further malformation, then I should not be. So it's just an interesting thing. I guess maybe this video is about suicide, like the central structure of suicide. But then there's also a sense of sometimes it's like for me also it became like not wanting to participate in anyone's story. I wanted to participate in anyone's movie, be a part of anyone's game. Wanting to free myself from the matrix. Or not so much free myself because there's just because if you're freeing yourself, then you're still retaining who you are, but in a different context. But there's a sense of like if I can't be in a context that ripples out from me as a center, or a context that allows me to be the very clothes I wear for the body that I am, allows me to be the very home I am, the very home I live in for the body I am, then I rather not have myself at all. So there can also be this sense of to defy this lack of, I don't know what to call it, um, self-containment, self-perfection, self-constraint, self-development, self-unfolding, self-expression, whatever you want to call it, to defy this lack of having complete autonomy for this. I will will my own negation. I will will my own end. So there's that feature there too. It's very interesting. I'm talking about very pressing matters, but it's hard to put into words. And some parts of it slip away. I don't know. I guess I just wanted to talk about this stuff because I think it'd be interesting. And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks like this or feels this way. There's something to it. So I guess maybe I should end on a positive note, such as because I did say the positive part and while I was talking, while I was explaining this sense of you can find a sense of wonder even with the malformation, a sense of wonder with the wrong attack, the wrong entering into sound. You can find a sense of development, an adjustment, adaptation, so to speak, from the initial fallout, the initial ruin, the initial mistakes, the initial perversion, the initial violation, the initial corruption that befalls you or that you execute in your life. That as long as you're alive, you can progress from where you are. There's a sense of the future holds promise as long as you're alive. And you're always moving through the future. The present is always passing through the future like a yarn through a needle. The future is the needle and the present is the yarn. And then the yarn can like weave in and tie with itself and weave out a tapestry of different experiences, different complexities. Some places may get knotted and you may not be able to backtrack and correct it. Other places can be used to knot more patterns out of the knot to create an interesting tapestry out of knots. Or you can just keep moving forward and create a different section, a different region, create sort of like a Byzantine structure, or like a structure that's very asymmetrical and not fully proportional. But there's a part of it that within the progression of your unfolding, you can make a new section within this weaving that illustrates who you want to be towards your death, who you want to be as you're entering your final, yeah, as you're entering your end. And that's how I see it. And it gives a sense of, it gives hope back. It gives control back. It gives autonomy back. But there's also this sense of, at least in Christianity, you don't have to do this on your own. That even though you're the yarn weaving through the need, you're the yarn, the present weaving through the need for the future. At every moment, you're not the hand that moves this yarn. The hand is God. God can weave this out for you. And you just have to let yourself be woven out. You just have to let your life be woven out and woven in relation to other people. and create different patterns, and on it goes. Yeah, it's very interesting. But I guess I don't know what else to say. I think I've said the best I can about this. I think I'll call this existential structure suicide, since it's what I've struggled with most as I started getting older, or I did not want to exist anymore. But there was no sense of wanting to kill myself. There was just a sense of wanting to die. There's a difference. Wanting to kill yourself is sort of like, and I feel like there are a lot of people who actually want to kill themselves even when they're suicidal. There's people who want to die, who want to put an end to awareness, who want to put an end to the different experiences, who want to put an end to their memories, who want to put an end to their fears of the future, who want to put an end to their sense of being trapped in a disappointing, painful, corrupting, futile present. So yeah, there's that feature there. So I guess I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.